So it's great to have all of you here today. We're on chapter 18, section 4, the little willingness. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we will, I don't know why this pops up and it blocks my entrance to share my screen. It needs to go away. So I'm just going to wait just a minute. Maybe I'll wait a minute. Well, it's not going to get out of my way. Let's see if I can make this smaller. No. It's weird. It won't let me, this little band up here. Oh, dock to the bottom. Ha! There we go. Okay, that's better. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I just closed my screen. Okay, let's go back to where I was. Sorry about the delay. I had this all ready to go, but I wasn't quite able to share it at the time. All right, chapter 18. At least now you guys know how I get to it. Passing of the dream, section 4, the little willingness. All right. I'm going to go ahead and read, and then we can discuss after this section. The holy instant is the result of your determination to be holy. It is the answer. The desire and the willingness to let it come precede its coming. You prepare your mind for it only to the extent of recognizing that you want it above all else. It is not necessary that you do more. Indeed, it is necessary that you realize that you cannot do more. Do not attempt to give the Holy Spirit what he does not ask, or you will add the ego to him and confuse the two. He asks but little. It is he who adds the greatness and the might. He joins with you to make the holy instant far greater than you can understand. It is your realization that you need do so little that enables him to give so much. Trust not your good intentions. They are not enough. But trust implicitly your willingness, whatever else may enter. Concentrate only on this and be not disturbed that shadows surround it. That is why you came. If you could come without them, you would not need the holy instant. Come to it, not in arrogance, assuming that you must achieve the state its coming brings with it. The miracle of the holy instant lies in your willingness to let it be what it is. And in your willingness for this lies also your acceptance of yourself as you were meant to be. Humility will never ask that you remain content with littleness, but it does require that you be not content with less than greatness that comes not of you. Your difficulty with the holy instant arises from your fixed conviction that you are not worthy of it. And what is this but the determination to be as you would make yourself? God did not create his dwelling place unworthy of him. And if you believe he cannot enter where he wills to be, you must be interfering with his will. You do not need the strength of willingness to come from you, but only from his will. The holy instant does not come from your little willingness alone. It is always the result of your small willingness combined with the unlimited power of God's will. You've been wrong in thinking that it is needful to prepare yourself for him. It is impossible to make arrogant preparations for holiness and not believe that it is up to you to establish the conditions for peace. God has established them. They do not wait upon your willingness for what they are. Your willingness is needed only to make it possible to teach you what they are. If you maintain you are unworthy of learning this, you are interfering with the lesson by believing that you must make the learner different. You did not make the learner, nor can you make him different. Would you first make a miracle yourself and then expect one to be made for you? You merely ask the question. The answer is given. Seek not to answer, but merely to receive the answer as it is given. In preparing for the holy instant, do not attempt to make yourself holy to be ready to receive it. That is but to confuse your role with God's. At one mint cannot come to those who think that they must first atone, but only to those who offer it nothing more than simple willingness to make way for it. Purification is of God alone, and therefore for you. Rather than seek to prepare yourself for him, try to think thus: I am host to God. I who am host to God am worthy of him. He who established his dwelling place in me created it as he would have it be. It is not needful that I make it ready for him, but only that I do not interfere with his plan to restore to me my awareness of my readiness, which is eternal. I need add nothing to his plan, but to receive it, I must be willing not to substitute my own in place of it. And that is all. Add more, and you will merely take away the little that is asked. Remember, you made guilt, and that your plan for the escape from guilt has been to bring at one mint to it and make salvation fearful. And it is only fear that you will add if you prepare yourself for love. The preparation for the holy instant belongs to him who gives it. Release yourself to him whose function is release. Do not assume his function for him. Give him but what he asks, that you may learn how little is your part and how great is his. It is this that makes the holy instant so easy and so natural. You make it difficult because you insist there must be more that you need do. You find it difficult to accept the idea that you give so little to receive so much. And it is very hard for you to realize it is not personally insulting that your contribution and the Holy Spirit's are so extremely disproportionate. You are still convinced that your understanding is a powerful contribution to the truth and makes it what it is. Yet we have emphasized that you need understand nothing. Salvation is easy just because it asks nothing you cannot give right now. Forget not that it has been your decision to make everything that is natural and easy for you impossible. If you believe the holy instant is difficult for you, it is because you have become the arbiter of what is possible and remain unwilling to give place to one who knows. The whole belief in orders of difficulty and miracles is centered on this. Everything God wills is not only possible, but has already happened. And that is why the past has gone. It never happened in reality, only in your mind, which thought it did. So it's undoing needful. Well, that's good to know that it's so easy. Hi, Carol, welcome today. I see you joined. Looks like Tim is jumping on. Shannon actually shared a really wonderful experience that she had on a retreat before we started reading today. So if anybody is interested in learning more about it, she did share her contact information in the chat. And yeah, she went on a really cool retreat in Costa Rica that was facilitated by Michael Beckwith. So fun stuff. Anyway, so we just read chapter 18, section 4, the little willingness. And anybody have anything they want to share about that?
I have this thought that some of those stimulants that the shamans take help, I think, to let go of something that keeps us from using that little willingness. You know, one of the things that that I read in those Carlos Castañeda books about the Toltec wisdom. They were like the first things written way back when, was that he used peyote to break down or to enhance this way of being able to see more than what we see now. But that eventually you can do that on your own without any stimulants. That's the key. That just breaks it. That just kind of, there seems to be some kind of a veil that we have. And some of those mushrooms, they go beyond that veil. It's just no longer there. But that we can actually do this without the stimulants as well. And I think this little willingness is that, being able to transcend that veil beyond that concept. I mean, for the first time, I think I understood what this little willingness is.
Yeah.
Because I've been reading about this, like, what the heck is this little willingness thing? What is this? It's like, and I guess it's just something that we ourselves hold back without realizing it, I guess, without even being aware of it.
That makes sense, Ernesto, because if you think about it, how many times have people said, oh, you need to meditate, you need to do this, you need to make yourself holy, you have to, do all of this to your body so that you're purified. And really, you just get in the way. You make it like you bring your self-importance to the place where you just need to let go, to let all of it be undone for you.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest messages that came through my experience was to have patience. And what that means, like, okay, I don't have patience. I've always been someone that like does everything. So like, that's something very hard. But with patience, it means silence. So I have to sit in this silence, and it's not doing things to get closer to God or to get God to do something, or the universe to do this. It's just sitting in silence and allowing your mind to expand and allowing and manifesting whatever needs to happen. It will come. So
Great share, Shannon. I
So
totally.
in my opinion,
Go ahead, Mary. Sorry.
in my opinion, we kind of separate in order to then rejoin, if you will, because we need to separate from the fact that we are always feeling like we need something else, something outside of us. And so we then get very focused on that, whether it's, something we're taking, whether it's a process that we're involved in, whether it's a certain look that we have to have, or a group that we're in, or whatever it is. It's always something outside of us that is going to launch us into this paradise that we, think that we want. But it really comes from that no thing and realizing that we are it that then moves the process. So you can believe in something for a while and have that give you, in a sense, that little willingness, because it takes you to a place and you go, wow, I can get here. And then the next step is to get there without that or whatever. And so you continue to progress in whichever ways your beliefs allow you to progress. But ultimately, it is that trust in spirit and love of yourself, and then you express the love for everything and become part of that whole instead of having to be this separate individual within that whole. And it just becomes a way of life, a way of being that is there for you, always. And then everything gets integrated. You don't have to kill the ego. You don't have to whatever. Everything serves its purpose, and you just understand and more or less command what the purpose is and when to employ all of the things at your disposal, because then everything in the universe is at your disposal. So it's quite an amazing process. And the little willingness, that little bit of faith, whether it's in yourself or just in God, knowing that you are that, is where it really starts.
Yeah, that's great, Mary. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think too, sometimes it's those experiences we get that help us to embody that knowledge too. Like when we have these experiences like Shannon had, or those one-off experiences where you've not tried to necessarily make yourself ready, you just open yourself up for whatever and have that little willingness, and then you're like, whoa, this is real, and this feels like a true connection to spirit. And then you ask yourself, well, how did I get here, and how do I get back? And you forget that you just had to let your defenses down. And I think just letting down your defenses and just being open and willing for that next step is you don't even have to. I guess it reminds me of when I did that meditation that Stuart Wilde wrote about in The Sixth Sense, where he didn't say what was going to happen. He just said, oh, these Buddhist monks say you have to meditate for hours on end and months, and in the extreme, he goes, this is how you do it. And he had this description, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to try this because this seems cool. And I was just, going through the motion of opening up my chakras and the spinning ball and watching it go up and down. And I think that was really just a way of distracting my mind, right? And opening myself to whatever, because I had no expectation of anything, but the fact that I wasn't allowing my mind to then be like, well, what about this? And you have to do this, and you have to go here. It opened up that moment of no mind, which made it possible for that experience to happen, where I had that oh my gosh experience of being at one minute, and again, it's just, it's that, how do you get that mind to shut down and shut off?
Good. Yeah.
We
Good for
just
me.
get out of our own way, because it's all done. It's already happened.
That's
It's
right.
purification is not our job.
Yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's like we're in the doctor's waiting room and don't even realize there's not even a door there.
Right. And I love that in the last paragraph, where it says, and that is why the past has gone. It never happened in reality.
Hmm.
And it makes, those are those times you like Tim just said, to make you want to go,
What have I been waiting for? Busy. Fill up the space. Oh my God. How many things do we have to do that in 50 years, somebody's going to go, yeah, they used to live there, but the house is condemned. Whatever. God, if we can't laugh at ourselves, we're in deep trouble. You have to be able to. I try to be self-effacing as much as I can, and there's always little things like, how dare he think that of me, and blah, 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 whatever. Oh my God. I heard about the Chris Rock thing last night. It was like, okay, yeah, it was in poor taste, but did you need to swing at him? I mean, come on, whatever.
we talked about that earlier in the conversation.
Do we really need to own Ukraine? We're going to bomb it into oblivion. There'll be nothing left. We'll have to spend trillions to build it back. Okay, yeah, makes perfect sense. Okay, enough. Quiet, Jim.
And again, that's the ego, right? Trying to distract, and keep you from the little willingness.
Yeah, which means your game is up.
Yeah.
No more of that. Boy, what a relief.
What Mary had said earlier about the integration is something that I try to focus on, because all my life I didn't really have opportunity for any type of drug use. And marijuana was something that was like obviously prevalent in high school, but it wasn't something I had access to. And as I got older, it was more of a curiosity purely under the mind expansion properties of drug use. And my husband and I became recreational marijuana users in our adult years when we went to Colorado. And, you know, it just started as fun. And then it started to become an awareness that, man, this is better than any antidepressant I've ever taken. This is better than any anti-anxiety I've ever taken. So through a personal journey, it became, I would say, an aid for me. I haven't taken a prescription med in 5+ years. I haven't struggled with my mental health as much, and so on and so forth. My point being is that, like, I started to notice that it switched from recreation to almost a need in terms of needing to use it. And it frustrated me because, as somebody who recognized early in my personal development that my crutches were alcohol, food, and spending, I could see how this was substituting my financial problems, quote unquote. And so as I've been on this journey, continue on this journey, I get better and better and better about understanding these worldly distractions. I have given up alcohol. I've given up caffeine. My point being is that sometimes I still like guilt trip myself about the fact that we smoke so much pot. But then I'm like, these are better alternatives to the avoidance that I had prior. But it is this realization that y'all were talking about earlier, is that I sat down and went to myself, well, what does marijuana bring me? Well, it brings me ease. It brings me creative flow. It brings me the expression of vulnerability and so on and so forth. And so just like y'all said, it was like, well, duh, that means that I can probably do that without the aid of a plant. But I'm just not emotionally there yet. My parents didn't teach me emotional awareness. It was not an environment that we had to talk about these things. So that is my helpful aid. It used to be completely avoidance by swiping my card and eating a brownie and so on and so forth. And now this gets me to a headspace that I can feel my primal body relax, and I can actually acknowledge what's going on in both mental and physical space. So I do believe that we will all get there, but potentially it's just recognizing that when I have a credit card addiction, I'm completely snubbing these people over here who have a drug addiction because I think my problem is not a problem, and I can judge them at how they've learned to cope with their issues or whatever. So it is not only loving our brothers and seeing that we're all one, we're all suffering, but then the second step to that being, well, holy crap, I don't need that stuff. I just need to love myself and love everybody else, and then choose the holy instant and how do I want to be in this particular moment. So practice.
Well said, Rachel. You
Thank
always put it so well. I love it when you
Rachel,
try to
it's
wrap it
that
up.
caffeine that you said you didn't do, because I'm grabbing mine right now.
Yeah, I'm like 3 years off of it. I'm really proud. I just started switching to tea this year, so.
All right. All right. Well, shall we continue with the happy dream?
Yay.
All
Yes.
right. Let's see. Let's see what's next for us. The happy dream. Prepare you now for the undoing of what never was. If you already understood the difference between truth and illusion, the at-one-ment would have no meaning. The holy instant, the holy relationship, the Holy Spirit's teaching, and all the means by which salvation is accomplished would have no purpose, for they are all but aspects of the plan to change your dreams of fear to happy dreams, from which you waken easily to knowledge. Put yourself not in charge of this, for you cannot distinguish between advance and retreat. Some of your greatest advances you have judged as failures, and some of your deepest retreats you have evaluated as success. Never approach the holy instant after you have tried to remove all fear and hatred from your mind. That is its function. Never attempt to overlook your guilt before you ask the Holy Spirit's help. That is his function. Your part is only to offer him a little willingness to let him remove all fear and hatred and to be forgiven. On your little faith, joined with his understanding, he will build your part in the at-one-ment and make sure that you fulfill it easily. And with him, you will build a ladder planted in the solid rock of faith and rising even to heaven. Nor will you use it to ascend to heaven alone. Through your relationship, reborn and blessed in every holy instant you do not arrange, thousands will rise to heaven with you. Can you plan for this? Or could you prepare yourself for such a function? Yet it is possible because God wills it, nor will he change his mind about it. The means and purpose both belong to him. You have accepted one, the other will be provided. A purpose such as this, without the means, is inconceivable. He will provide the means to anyone who shares his purpose. Happy dreams come true, not because they are dreams, but only because they are happy. And so they must be loving. Their message is, thy will be done, and not, I want it otherwise. The alignment of means and purpose is an undertaking impossible for you to understand. You do not even realize you have accepted the Holy Spirit's purpose as your own, and you would merely bring unholy means to its accomplishment. The little faith it needed to change the purpose is all that is required to receive the means and use them. It is no dream to love your brother as yourself, nor is your holy relationship a dream. All that remains of dreams within it is that it is still a special relationship. Yet it is very useful to the Holy Spirit, who has a special function here. It will become the happy dream, through which he can spread joy to thousands on thousands who believe that love is fear, not happiness. Let him fulfill the function that he gave to your relationship by accepting it for you, and nothing will be wanting that would make of it what he would have it be. When you feel the holiness of your relationship is threatened by anything, stop instantly and offer the Holy Spirit your willingness, in spite of fear, to let him exchange this to let him exchange this instant for the holy one that you would rather have. He will never fail in this, but forget not that your relationship is one. And so it must be that whatever threatens the peace of one is an equal threat to the other. The power of joining its blessing lies in the fact that it is now impossible for you or your brother to experience fear alone, or to attempt to deal with it alone. Never believe that this is necessary or even possible. Yet just as this is impossible, so is it equally impossible that the holy instant come to either of you without the other. And it will come to both at the request of either. Whoever is saner at the time the threat is perceived should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other and how much gratitude is due him, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Let him remember this and say, I desire this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother whom I love. It is not possible that I can have it without him, or he without me. Yet it is wholly possible for us to share it now. And so I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us both in peace. Isn't that interesting how it always goes back to your brother, right? You always think you're in this alone. This is my journey. This is my thing. I have to ascend. I have to find this place of one-ment. And it's never alone, right? It's always with your brother. And it's always about finding that at one-ment with your brother and sharing that. We always think, we're on this journey alone and this is our path. And, my path is different from your path, but there's always the brother. And the holy relationship could be with your significant other, your children. It could be with someone that you're not getting along with, right? That brother that is offering you that ability to find that love for yourself and forgiveness in that relationship that seems so detrimental.
But everything in spirituality that becomes the thing is everything is seen as a whole. So your brother is the example, is the part of that way of thinking that helps you to acknowledge that everything is a whole, and you are all acting as individuations, but you are individuations of a whole, and you don't lose sight of that. And so you don't lose sight of that in any decision that you make. Therefore, nothing becomes more important than another, or, you know, imbalanced in that way. It remains in perfect harmony because it's always looked at as the one thing. And so it's just a way of looking at all of life, but it's easy when you're able to look at it as like your brother is a reflection of you. And then the world is a reflection of you. And so is the universe. And so is, because we are all God. And therefore we are all that one thing.
Yeah, good point, Mary. And, you know, it doesn't even have to be with someone that you are currently physically with, right? I know that I had an amazing experience of a holy instant when I was sleeping and had a dream about a relationship that I had been in 10 years before. That was a violent physical relationship. And I had this dream that I know I've shared with many of you. I had this dream of this person that I used to have night terrors, and I would be frozen and he'd be chasing me. And right before he'd strike, I'd wake up, or I'd have these night terrors where I knew I was asleep, but I couldn't wake up. So I'd try to make myself scream so that I could finally move. I was paralyzed, like literally paralyzed with fear. And this happened for about 10 years. I was with him for about 4 years, had him arrested numerous times to even just try to get out of the relationship. And one night I had this dream about him, and I was hiding in the woods, and it was dark out, and he was in this house, and I was looking through the window and I could see him, and I felt very safe because I was hiding and he couldn't see me. And I saw him with this woman, and I thought, oh, that's weird. He's with a woman. She must be in danger. So I got closer to the house and looked in the window because I wanted to help this woman. And I saw they had a very loving relationship. And I was so shocked to see that in my dream because I never imagined that he would have this loving relationship with a woman. And as soon as I saw that, his face appeared on the other side of the glass, like right in front of mine. And I was terrified. And I remember thinking, oh no, he saw me. He saw me, and now he's got me. And the house just kind of disappeared between us, and we were standing face to face. And he looked at me and he said, I'm so sorry for everything that I ever did to you. And I looked at him and I said, it's okay, I forgive you. And we hugged, and I woke up and I was in tears, like happy tears. I had this amazing healing dream. And the first thing I wanted to do was call him up and say, oh my gosh, I forgive you. But I was like, oh, I can't do that because I still had like order of protection out against him for all these other things. And I didn't know where his mental space was. But it's so interesting that it says that as soon as one of you accepts the holy instant, it happens for both of you, right? But of course, I didn't know that then. I mean, of course, I was doing the work still. I was doing A Course in Miracles, but my mind wasn't thinking that he was healed like I was healed. I was excited to call him and share that with him, but I knew better than to do that. Within a few months, I got a call, and he came to the place where I worked. Somebody was working with him to help him. And long story short, I allowed them to come in. I was working at an athletic club. They worked out together, and he said he wanted to speak to me afterwards. And at that time, I had the happy dream, the healing dream, and I was excited to talk to him. And we made this arrangement to meet in this back room. And he looked at me and he goes, I just want to let you know how sorry I am for everything I did to you. And I looked at him and I said, it's okay, I forgive you. And we embraced and hugged, and it was just like the dream. So here's this,
Hmm.
this thing that we're reading, and I actually had this whole thing happen to me. So you don't have to actually be physically with that person, is what I'm trying to say, to have this holy instant happen, because all minds are joined.
Neat.
I've had this theory that, like, because depending on how far you are into personal development, spiritual development, they talk about how, most of us in this group of circle, we believe in reincarnation, and generally it's because you have a lesson to learn before you can move on. And generally when you're reincarnating, you reincarnate with the same energies. You have a soul family. And it always kind of confused me slightly, because I'm like, in my life, I'm like, so is my mom not like part of my soul family because she's not very important in this life, or whatever. But then I'm like, well, that doesn't make very much sense. So then I'm like, well, maybe soul families are a branch of another extension of your energy. And I'm like, well, that would make sense because we all come back to source eventually. So then it was like, well, cool. If we all come back to source and we all have one consciousness, we're all just the same person having the exact same experience. Well, not the same experience, but of course, but you're all me and I'm all you. We've all heard that, right? But then like, it kind of finally connected to me where it was like, well, duh, the phrase, I give to him what I get back, was so powerful to me, because it's like each and every time I see somebody that's struggle busing in their reality, if I extend that holy instant, that power to them, that's just me getting that in the life when I could have used it the most when maybe everybody passed me by. So that's just something that I try to remind myself, because the primary thing is me and working on me. But often, like I think Terry had said at the beginning, it's like we forget that we are here co-creating with other people. And even when we're in the height of things in our experience, it always ends up being that somebody else's co-creation is what knocks us off our place if we felt super strong. So something to remember for sure. It's been very helpful to me to see other people through. That will be me. I need grace in this moment. Can I extend that right now?
As my wife often says, well, Tim, there's only one person in the room.
That's awesome that she says that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. She's taking a shower right now. I can hear the water running. But yeah, that's I go along with that. And a friend of mine I wanted to share, he was at the Department of Education, and one of the upper level managers who was in charge of their I'll call it touchy-feely training for a long time. And he's read, he's been in the course for quite a while and so forth, a lot of other stuff, Richard Rohr and so forth. But he always brings up to us, he says, when something's happening, it's like, if you can just remember to ask, how is this happening for me? It just shifts completely, instead of like, oh, I don't want this to be, I don't need one more thing to do. Oh, how is it happening okay, it's happening for me to maybe slow down or whatever. So anyway, it's a neat twist. And then he also tries to practice as he's going about his business, and bless his heart, he's almost 80 in this body now, and had polio when he was a kid. But he, as he walks around, sees people, he goes, I am you, you are me. I am you, you are me. And just actively trains his mind, his brain, whatever, to, not differentiate. And if we can do that, then why would I want to attack that person there who's really me? Well, I don't, because he's me. So, anyway, just a tool he uses.
That's great. I actually shared something in the chat box based on what both of you are talking about. Tim, both you and Rachel, and I know I've shared this before. It's a short story. It's called The Egg, and it's so interesting. If you've never read it, I would highly encourage you to read it, because it's kind of a mind-blowing short story which speaks exactly to what you guys are talking about, like I am you and you are me, and how is that possible? But if you read this short story, it's one account of how it might be possible that kind of makes it very relatable, but at the same time, it's you read it and you go, oh wow.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
And
really
you just shared it in our our box there or whatever?
Yeah, if you look, there should be, if you're on your computer, there
Yeah.
should be a little section that says chat.
Oh,
And if you highlight it, it's at the bottom of my screen. Might be in a different spot.
oh, there it is. Yeah.
Shannon also shared her contact information
see it.
there for anyone who might want to contact her about her retreat that she just went on. She shared some
Oh, yeah.
information
I
about that.
see. I didn't know about this.
There you go. See, you learn something new every day.
Little bit challenged there.
It's all right.
Yeah.
You know, everything changes.
I have a question that's totally off the topic that we've been talking about. On this, in the second paragraph, it says, never approach the holy instant after you have tried to remove all fear and hatred from your mind. That is a function. Never attempt to overlook your guilt. Isn't that what we're doing right now? Isn't the course us trying to do that? Isn't meditation and all the things that I've been doing my whole life, isn't that all trying to purify yourself to get closer? And this says never do it.
Which paragraph is it again, Carl? I know what you're talking about.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is his function.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're not supposed to be doing this. We're not supposed to be purifying ourselves and or searching or meditating or doing our ayahuasca retreats or.
For me, Carl, I think it's like, where is the focus? Is that going to be the thing that you need to bring you to where you think you want to be? Or are you using it as an experience to then learn a little something from it that you then take as an internal, growth? It's like, do I need something out there, or is it all in here and I can communicate with God here, that I have the power, I also am worthy, I have the faith, all those things. I am ready, I am willing here, or do I need all this other ritual and focus, which actually then it becomes a distraction instead of a learning experience. So it depends on how you use the tools, in my opinion.
I see that, Mary. And I also see that throughout this book, it's constantly telling you, ask the Holy Spirit for help, ask the Holy Spirit for help. It's not saying you have to let go of fear first, then ask the Holy Spirit for help. And whenever we're in these conversations and these discussions and we have these crises in our lives, I think the whole point of the course is you don't have to fix it. It's not yours to fix. Just let go, let God, ask the whole, it's constantly trying to tell us, you don't have to fix it. It's not yours to fix. Just let go, let God, ask the Holy Spirit for help. So I think it's more like trying to reinforce you're going to the source for help instead of calling on yourself, because as soon as you try to fix it, you're already aligned with fear. You've already chosen love or fear because you're already afraid, right? If you're afraid, you've chosen fear already.
Or you're just giving it the space by acknowledging, well, I'm not sure. My recollections of being totally in spirit are that, this thing, it's like an engine that's going by itself and I'm just part of it. It's like, as long as I don't interfere and claim anything personal, if I bring it down to a personal level at all, it's lost. So it's, I think that's what he's trying to say here. Because you're going to think in that first sentence, never approach the holy instant after you've tried to remove all fear and hatred from your mind. Well, then you go, okay, then your next thing would be, okay, well, now I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. All right, God, why aren't you there? I don't, it's like, no, it's just a finer form of the ego, I think. Isn't that what you're saying, Terry?
Yeah, I think so, right? Just to get into that habit of going to the Holy Spirit for help.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think in the next in paragraph 4, it says, "Happy dreams come true, not because they are dreams, but because they are
Oh,
happy.
yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Only because they are happy." So I think that for me, and I think
Yeah.
for me, this is what it says. Sometimes when I'm having these thoughts of, Putin should be killed, they should put a hit on him.
Yeah.
I say to myself, wait a minute, that's not what I want to think. I want to think loving thoughts to him, not that he
Yeah.
should be killed. In other words, for me, because now I'm emphasizing the hatred instead of the loving,
Yeah.
instead of being a happy, loving thing.
Mhm.
If that makes any
Yeah.
sense, that's me.
Yeah,
That's-
We
definitely.
are. Yeah. I found myself doing the same thing, Carl. And actually, I think it was yesterday morning, I was laying in bed and thinking about this whole thing. I says, well, I mean, he really needs love right now. And I started visualizing him and saying, man, hey, yeah, it's crazy what's going on, but you could just quit, and I can see you as my brother kind of thing. So there was a moment, I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't take credit if the war stops. Let's just say that.
All right, shall we try to read one more, because it's all things we're speaking about. I wish we could read the one after this, because it says I need do nothing, which is what we've been talking
Oh,
about, but I think we're
yeah.
gonna have to save that for next week. But
Yeah.
let's get into beyond the body, because I think that's going to be empowering. Okay. Beyond the body. Too many screens open, so now it's taking a little bit longer. There we go. There is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn, for it is the realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from himself. Kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God, who left not his Father and dwells not apart from him. Heaven is not a place, nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness, and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? The belief that you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and of your identity. And you have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. You've displaced your guilt to your body from your mind. Yet a body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. You who think you hate your body deceive yourself. You hate your mind, for guilt has entered into it, and it would remain separate from your brothers, which it cannot do. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning to the mind the properties of the body does separation seem to be possible. And it is mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. Its guilt, which keeps it separate, is projected to the body, which suffers and dies because it is attacked to hold the separation in the mind and let it not know its identity. Minds cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. Yet it is never what the body does that seems to satisfy, unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies. It will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. In this, the mind is clearly delusional. It cannot attack, but it maintains that it can and uses what it does to hurt the body to prove it can. The mind cannot attack, but it can deceive itself. And this is all it does when it believes it has attacked the body. It can project its guilt, but it will not lose it through projection. And though it clearly can misperceive the function of the body, it cannot change its function from what the Holy Spirit establishes it to be. The body was not made by love, yet love does not condemn it and can use it lovingly, respecting what the Son of God has made and using it to save him from illusions. Would you not have the instruments of separation reinterpreted as means for salvation and used for purposes of love? Would you not welcome and support the shift from fantasies of vengeance to release from them? Your perception of the body can clearly be sick, but project not this upon the body, for your wish to make destructive what cannot destroy can have no real effect at all. What God created is only what he would have it be, being his will. You cannot make his will destructive. You can make fantasies in which your will conflicts with his, but that is all. It is insane to use the body as the scapegoat for guilt, directing its attack and blaming it for what you wished it to do. It is impossible to act out fantasies, for it is still the fantasies you want, and they have nothing to do with what the body does. It does not dream of them, and they but make it a liability where it could be an asset. For fantasies have made your body your enemy, weak, vulnerable, and treacherous, worthy of the hate that you invest in it. How has this served you? You have identified with this thing you hate, the instrument of vengeance and the perceived source of your guilt. You've done this to a thing that has no meaning, proclaiming it to be the dwelling place of God's Son and turning it against him. This is the host of God that you have made, and neither God nor his most holy Son can enter an abode that harbors hate and where you have sown the seeds of vengeance, violence, and death. This thing you made to serve your guilt stands between you and other minds. The minds are joined, but you do not identify with them. You see yourself locked in a separate prison, removed and unreachable, incapable of reaching out as being reached. You hate this prison you have made and would destroy it, but you would not escape from it, leaving it unharmed, without your guilt upon it. Yet only thus can you escape. The home of vengeance is not yours. The place you set aside to house your hate is not a prison, but an illusion of yourself. The body is a limit imposed on the universal communication that is an eternal property of mind. But the communication is internal. Mind reaches to itself. It is not made up of different parts which reach each other. It does not go out. Within itself, it has no limits, and there is nothing outside it. It encompasses everything. It encompasses you entirely, you within it, and it within you. There is nothing else, anywhere or ever. The body is outside you and but seems to surround you, shutting you off from others and keeping you apart from them and them from you. It is not there. There is no barrier between God and his Son, nor can his Son be separated from himself except in illusions. This is not his reality, though he believes it is. Yet this could only be if God were wrong. God would have had to create differently and to have separated himself from his Son to make this possible. He would have had to create different things and to establish different orders of reality, only some of which were love. Yet love must be forever like itself, changeless forever and forever without alternative. And so it is. You cannot put a barrier around yourself because God placed none between himself and you. You can stretch out your hand and reach to heaven. You whose hand is joined with your brother's have begun to reach beyond the body, but not outside yourself, to reach your shared identity together. Could this be outside you, where God is not? Is he a body? And did he create you as he is not, and where he cannot be? You are surrounded only by him. What limits can there be on you whom he encompasses? Everyone has experienced what he would call a sense of being transported beyond himself. This feeling of liberation far exceeds the dream of freedom sometimes hoped for in special relationships. It is a sense of actual escape from limitations. If you will consider what this transportation really entails, you will realize that it is a sudden unawareness of the body and a joining of yourself and something else, in which your mind enlarges to encompass it. It becomes part of you as you unite with it, and both become whole, as neither is perceived as separate. What really happens is that you have given up the illusion of a limited awareness and lost your fear of union. The love that instantly replaces it extends to what has freed you and unites with it. And while this lasts, you're not uncertain of your identity and would not limit it. You have escaped from fear to peace, asking no questions of reality, but merely accepting it. You have accepted this instead of the body and have let yourself be one with something beyond it, simply by not letting your mind be limited by it. This can occur regardless of the physical distance that seems to be between you and what you join, of your respective positions in space, and of your differences in size and seeming quality. Time is not relevant. It can occur with something past, present, or anticipated. The something can be anything and anywhere: a sound, a sight, a thought, a memory, and even a general idea without specific reference. Yet in every case, you join it without reservation because you love it and would be with it. And so you rush to meet it, letting your limits melt away, suspending all the laws your body obeys and gently setting them aside. There is no violence at all in this escape. The body is not attacked, but simply properly perceived. It does not limit you merely because you would not have it so. You are not really lifted out of it. It cannot contain you. You go where you would be, gaining, not losing, a sense of self. In these instants of release from physical restrictions, you experience much of what happens in the holy instant: the lifting of the barriers of time and space, the sudden experience of peace and joy, and above all, the lack of awareness of the body, and of the questioning whether or not all this is possible. It is possible because you want it. The sudden expansion of awareness that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal the holy instant holds. It calls you to be yourself within its safe embrace. There are the laws of limit lifted for you to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. Come to this place of refuge where you can be yourself in peace, not through destruction, not through a breaking out, but merely by a quiet melting in. For peace will join you there, simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you have placed upon love and joined it where it is and where it led you, an answer to its gentle call to be at peace. But that is beautiful, isn't it? It sounds like a meditation. I just had this vision of like closing my eyes and just being in that moment.
Wow, nice.
And you get to live that
Yes.
when you really accept that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I had a conversation with someone the other day about, what if the ship has a problem, or what if we were to, die at sea, or blah, 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 and going on and on about all the what ifs and just kind of laughing about it. But in the end, it was like, how do you deal with life the way you do? And it was, for me, it was so simple. It's like, I would rather have this peace in my soul and song in my heart and smile on my lips than all of the other turmoil. And it really is just a matter of choosing each and every time until it becomes so automatic that it's the way you function.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Well, does anybody have any other comments before we close today, since it's 1:30? I don't want to rush anyone because I know I just finished reading. So thank you for that share, Mary. That was good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well,
right.
I think it just that last sentence there, that at 7, for peace will join you there simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you have placed upon love and joined it where it is and where it led you, in answer to its gentle call of peace. And it reminds me when I was in this very pure state back, God, 50 years ago this spring, I think, when I've had other experiences after that and before that, but this was with a very close friend of mine. But I remember being outside on a day, something like today, clear, and there was this constant communication going on. Like there was, oh my God, I don't know how to explain it. It was like there was a presence within me, but without me. There wasn't any place where I wasn't. And it just sounds egotistical, but it's anything but. But I remember a questioning that I had for, I didn't know it was Holy Spirit or whatever that was, but it was like, well, everything is just so perfect. And how could there have been a Hitler and a Mussolini? And I just quieted. And then it was like in my own voice, kind of, I guess, who came back and said, well, they just needed to do that to, it was like about that simple. They just needed to do that to move on from that. And so we have one that's equally crazy in Russia right now, who's just need to do that. And I've read that he's probably surrounded himself with a few generals and yes men, which is a very dangerous thing to do, that are just telling him, yeah, everything's perfect, everything's going fine, da, da, da. So this thing continues. Nobody has the everyone is fearful, so no one's going to come to him with the truth. So I'm sitting here visualizing bumper stickers that say "Love Putin."
Too, that a big part of what I just read is to realize that the body itself is just an illusion that we created, right? It never existed. It's something we created for whatever reason. And the only truth really is the mind that joins with the spirit, right? And we tell ourselves all these stories about these bodies, and we try to make these bodies into something more than they really are. And they're simply a means of communication. And the communication is love, like you said, Tim. I mean, their only purpose is to communicate love. And that's only because that's what the Holy Spirit can use them for.
Right. That's the bottom line.
That's the only thing they're useful
Yeah.
for. Otherwise, they just
Yeah.
continue to miscreate, and they continue to, to propel this illusion of fear.
Yeah, but try telling somebody that. Well, we can't tell them that. All we can do is love them.
And it doesn't matter because there is no them. Right? There's only us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if I go back to that, yeah, there was only my friend who was in it with me was nothing other than part of me, and all my classmates in the design studio were me. My professor was, yeah, it was all just extensions. And that's when I told my friend, and he wasn't totally in it. He would have never said this because he was fearful about, sharing this with my professor, and this was senior level design. And I was like completely disregarded what my friend said, because I understood perfectly when Christ said, my cup runneth over. It's like, I cannot stop this cup from running over. That's inconceivable. But we do every time we fear. We shut off the valve to the hose or whatever, the source. Anyway,
All right.
thanks to all of me.
All right,
Oh,
anybody
boy.
else have any other shares before we close?
Thank you. Goodbye,
Okay.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye.
And next week we'll start with
I need do nothing.
I Need Do Nothing. Yeah. All right, awesome. All right, guys, thank you for joining as usual. Great shares. Great to have all of you here. I'll see you
Love
next.
you.
All
Bye
right,
bye,
love you
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.